Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and this is Monster Catchers Journal Podcast. Let the light of the glyphs protect you. Today's episode isn't your normal run-of-the-mill catcher story. This one's about a creature called the glassweb. It was an ordinary morning on Nibiru. The twin suns and three moons hung in their usual places, their endless glow spilling across the sky. The air was calm, the breeze soft. One of those rare peaceful days when adventure felt like a distant rumor. I was enjoying the quiet when Orion appeared through the fog, his expression unreadable. "Quasar," he said, his voice steady. "I have an important mission for you." I raised an eyebrow. "This early?" "There's a new strain of carnivorous plant with white meaty bulbs," he explained. "Its seeds could be revolutionary, but I need you to harvest it immediately." Before I could argue, he handed me a map with a glowing red coordinate and disappeared back into the mist. Moments later, Luna and Zena arrived. "Do we have another mission?" Zena asked. "I hope it's a jungle," Luna said excitedly. "I was hoping for a quiet island," I muttered, rolling my eyes. Still, I packed up the hover car and we set off toward the fern crepe rainforest. The flight was long and quiet. When we landed, the sight before us nearly took my breath away. The rainforest stretched in all directions, lush, damp, and alive. The trees were 15 feet tall, their red vines like leaves swaying, like willows in the wind. The underbrush shimmered with bioluminescent moss, glowing faintly beneath the twin suns, and a cool fog clung to everything, curling between the trunks like smoke. "Wow," I whispered. "Amazing," Luna finished my sentence for me. For a moment, none of us moved. The place felt ancient, untouched, a hidden world suspended between light and silence. I unfolded Orion's map. "We have to cross a canyon, pass a boulder shaped like a bird, and then find a lake covered in webs. The plant should be growing near there." We hiked for hours until we reached the canyon. The only bridge was a fallen tree, slick with moss and hovering dangerously high above a roaring stream. "Are you still afraid of heights?" Luna teased. "Yes, and I think it's justified," I snapped. Zena crossed first, calm as ever. I followed next, heart hammering. When I reached the other side, I collapsed, kissing the dirt in relief. That's when I heard it, a faint chime, like the sound of a glass cracking in a slow motion. We followed the noise through a patch of moss and came upon something remarkable. Hidden beneath the roots of a twisted tree was a perfect circular trapdoor made of silk and glittering dust. When I brushed my finger over it, the surface shimmered like crystal, and then it moved. The creature that emerged was no ordinary spider. It was about the size of my palm, its body a crystal clear blue that reflected the light like cut glass. Its legs were dark, bristled brown, strong and fast, but its body looked like it had been sculpted from water and frozen mid motion. Every time it shifted, the air around it glittered. It built its nest underground using its own silk to craft that shimmering trapdoor. The entire structure blended perfectly into the earth, invisible unless you knew what to look for. Inside, tunnels spiraled downward, their walls lined with silk that looked almost metallic in the dim light. Unlike most arachnids, the glassweb didn't hunt from the trees or chase its prey. It waited patiently below, the faint glimmering of its door, the only sign of its presence. Ever so often, it would surface to check its web, the soft glow of its crystalline body breaking through the fog like a shard of light. I crouched low, breath held. Luna and Zena stood frozen behind me, staring at the creature in awe. "It's beautiful," Luna whispered. Beautiful and deadly. I could feel the tension in the air, the stillness before the forest exhaled. Again, the glassweb was a perfect balance of elegance and danger, a living gemstone hidden beneath the soil of Nibiru. I stepped forward, hoping to get a better look, and well, let's just say my curiosity got the better of me when I did. I remember kneeling there, the soft fog rolling over my boots, my reflection flickering in the spider's glassy shell. It was mesmerizing, like looking into a living gemstone. The creature's abdomen caught the light of Nibiru's twin suns and three moons, scattering it in fractured rainbows across the mossy ground. "Careful, Stell," Zena warned in a whisper. "I just want a closer look," I murmured, leaning in. The spider shifted its body, tensed, and a faint crackling sound filled the air, like ice splitting into a frozen pond. The ground beneath my palm vibrated. I realized too late that I had crossed the invisible line, the boundary of its den. Before I could move, the glass web sprang from its burrow. It was faster than lightning, its legs a blur of brown and shimmer. The trapdoor snapped shut behind it with a sound like shuddering crystal. "Run!" Zena shouted. I stumbled back, narrowly avoiding its strike. The spider's fangs gleamed like black or silver. Not black or silver, but translucent, dripping with a clear venom that hissed where it touched the soil. The webbing at its feet gleamed bright blue, tightening into threads so thin they could slice through cloth. Luna grabbed my arm. "Come on, Stell, move!" We bolted through the underbrush, branches snapping beneath our feet. The sound of the spider's pursuit echoed behind us. It wasn't a loud sound, more like the soft tick-tick-tick of glass tapping against stone. But it was close, too close. The first forest blurred past in streaks of red and green. The fog thickened, the air damp with the scent of acid moss. I could feel the spider's silk brushing my sleeve, sticky, light as air, but cold enough to burn. And then, just as sudden as it had begun, the sound stopped. We burst out of the trees and into a clearing, breathless, wide-eyed, and covered in dirt. Before us loomed something colossal, a rock formation carved by time and weather into the unmistakable shape of a bird. Its wings stretched skyward, shadowing the clearing in its stony embrace. "That's it," Zena gasped. "The landmark from the map, the bird-shaped rock." I turned half expected to see the glass web still crawling after us, but there was nothing, only silence and the faint echo of my heartbeat. Luna bent down, running her fingers over a patch of silver webbing, tangled at the edge of the rock. "It followed us this far?" she said softly, and then stopped. I nodded, still catching my breath. "They don't chase prey far from their dens," I said. "They only defend." The realization settled over me like a mist. We hadn't been hunted. We'd been warned. The glass web wasn't a monster to fear. It was a guardian protecting its home. I brushed dirt from my coat and glanced backward toward the forest. "Come on," I said. "Let's find the lake before the sun sets." But as we turned to leave, a faint chime echoed again, far off in the fog, not threatening this time, almost like a farewell. Past the bird-shaped rock, the air began to shift. The fog grew denser, tinged with a faint green glow. The forest thinned into a clearing where the ground dipped into a wide basin. And that's when we saw it, the lake. It wasn't water that shimmered below, but a slow bubbling pool of green acid, the surface hissing and steaming under the twin suns and the three moons. The stench of minerals and burnt moss filled the air. Along the edges, blue mossy bushes grew in thick, vibrant clusters, each one glistening beneath a thin veil of sticky silk webs. "This has to be it," Zena said, awe and caution mixed in her tone. "The new carnivorous strain," I whispered, scanning the area. The plants were unlike anything I'd ever seen, thick stems of translucent green, their tops bearing white, fleshy bulbs that pulsed faintly, almost like they were breathing. The webs stretched from bush to bush, weaving through the foliage like living glass threads. Luna pulled her gloves tighter. You sure this is safe? No, I admitted. But since when has that stopped us? We stepped carefully, the ground crunching beneath our boots. Every sound echoed, even the rustle of a leaf sounded too loud in the acid air. I knelt beside the nearest bush and inspected a bulb. The texture was spongy but firm, and when I cut into it with my blade, a pale, milky sap oozed out. Orion was right, I said. These are nutrient-rich. No rituals, no catalyst, pure organic energy. We just need 7. One by one we began plucking the bulbs, sealing each in containment jars. 3, 4, 5, Luna counted out loud. 6, Zena said, handing me another. And 7, I finished, tucking the last jar into my pack. For a moment all was calm. The acid lake hissed quietly beside us, and the blue moss rippled in the breeze. Then I heard it. The same sound from before, the faint crystalline tick, tick, tick. Don't move, I said softly. A ripple spread across the webbing that covered the moss, and from beneath a new glass web crawled into the opening. This one larger than the last, its crystal abdomen fractured with glowing green veins. The acid fumes had changed it, twisted it. Its eyes glimmered like liquid emeralds as it raised its front legs and hissed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. Stell, that's not the same one, Zena breathed. I know, I said, backing up slowly. It's guarding the lake. The spider lunged, its webbing shot outward like strands of lightning, catching the ground near my boots. I slashed at the silk with my blade, sparks flying as the fiber cut through the air. Luna grabbed one of the jars, nearly dropping it, as we turned and sprinted towards the ridge. Go, go, I shouted. The forest came alive again, fog swirling, the acid lake steaming louder behind us. I could feel the spider's vibration through the earth as it chased the tick, 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 growing faster. A glob of webbing hissed past my shoulder and hit a tree, melting bark where it struck. We crashed through the brush, hearts pounding, the sound of our own breathing down by the forest's chaotic chorus. The moment we saw the glint of the hover car through the vines, we didn't slow down. Zena jumped into the driver's seat, firing up the engine. The hover thrusters roared into life, kicking up a spray of leaves and dust. Luna and I dove in just as a final thread of silk snapped across the hood. Floor it, I yelled. The car lurched upward, breaking through the canopy. The spider shrieked below, a piercing, glassy wail that echoed for miles, and then silence. We were safe. The rainforest stretched beneath us, glowing in the fading light. The jars clinked softly in the pack, each one holding the fruit of our perilous harvest. We've done it, but I couldn't help thinking, maybe the glass web wasn't defending its nest this time. Maybe it was defending the forest itself. I hoped Orion was proud of himself. We almost died thanks to his careless endeavor. The memory of the acid green lake and the glass web still clung to my nerves like static. But we had managed to get the seeds, so he should be happy. When we finally returned to Luon, the mountain fog curling around the academy's spires felt like a blessing. Orion met us at the docking platform before we could even shut down the hover car. His eyes gleamed behind his lenses, already hungry for discovery. Without so much as a good job surviving, he snatched the containment case from my hand and rustled it straight to the research wing. Typical Orion. Weeks passed. I visited his lab a few times, more out of curiosity than concern, and each time the air smelled a little greener, sharper, like moss and ozone. Somehow he'd done it. That the seeds had sprouted into strange, glass-veined plants that pulsed faintly in the dark. He even got an offer to sell them in the verdant market. I should have been relieved. Instead, all I could think was, at what cost this time, Orion? One bright morning, Orion summoned us to the verdant market. He'd set up a small stall, the sunlight catching the glass panels of his greenhouse crate like a prism. Behind the counter, rows of the uncooked plants glimmered, pale and translucent, while small sample portions of the cooked white bulbs sat neatly in polished trays. I called you three here to try it, Orion said, his voice tinged with pride. Since you went through the trouble of finding it, he handed us each a small, steaming sample. I picked up mine carefully, the steam curling around my fingers, carrying a sharp, earthy aroma that immediately made my stomach rumble. Tentatively, I brought the first bite to my tongue. The moment it touched my taste buds, I understood exactly why Orion had insisted on our help. It was savory and juicy, with a subtle sweetness that lingered behind the initial richness. The texture was unlike anything I'd ever eaten, dense yet tender, almost creamy and warm with the faintest hint of the forest floor. Luna's eyes widened. "Oh, wow, Stell, try this!" Zena simply nodded, her usual composed expression giving way to a soft smile. "It's remarkable." I swallowed, letting the flavors settle. "Orion," I said slowly, "this isn't just good, it's incredible. I get why you wanted us to risk our necks for it." Orion's grin stretched from ear to ear. "Exactly," he said. "You three did the dangerous work. Now, you get the reward, and soon, so will everyone else." As I took another bite, I couldn't help but glance at the faint green glow of the remaining uncooked plants. There was something alive in them, something ancient and sharp, reminding me of the glass webs and the acid lake. Even in the market's bustling chaos, the forest memory clung to them. And for now, I let myself savor the moment, the flavor, the triumph, and the rare satisfaction of a mission finally done. Luna and Zena made their leave. They had other things to do, and I stayed behind because I really needed to talk about an important matter with Orion. Orion's lips pressed into a thin line. The look he gave me was that of a teacher catching a student with their hands in a forbidden jar. He folded his arms, the annoyed cadence heavy in his voice. "You still haven't told them, have you?" "No." I kept my voice low. The market's clamor rolled around us. Vendors hawked spiced kelp. A laugh from a merchant's apprentice. The tinker of coins. But the stall felt like its own island of quiet. "They don't need to know. I intend to go after Eurykeb." For a beat, he said nothing. Then he let out a breath that was half a laugh and half a warning. "If you go alone, you could die. The glyph is—" He paused, searching for words. "It's not simply a star-born thing you can poke and take home. It's old and hungry." I blinked. "It's only a star born from collision of dark matter and a supernova. How can it be so hard?" I hadn't meant the edge in my voice, but the words slipped sharp and naive out anyway. The annoyance melted away, and something colder slid in. Orion's face softened, not into sympathy exactly, more like pity for someone who had just walked into a storm and didn't know the sky could swallow them. "You keep calling it a star because that's what the stories fold it into," he said quietly. But a glyph like the Eurykeb isn't a piece of sky. It's a knot in the world. It twists the rolls around it. Gravity bends differently near it. Time stutters. The air cuts you like a knife. If you aren't careful, it binds to fear and eats it. A single misstep, and it'll anchor itself to you. My stomach flipped, and for some reason I pictured the acid lake, the glass chimes of the webs, the thin threads that had tried to catch my sleeve. Orion's hands fidgeted with a scrap of paper on the counter. He moved like a man who'd rehearsed this conversation and hated every word. You didn't tell them because you wanted to protect them, he asked. Or because you don't trust them to listen. Which is it, Quasar? The truth was, both. Luna and Zena were brave and reckless in ways that made me love them. I didn't want to be the one to hand them a death sentence, disguised as an adventure, but there was a stubborn thing in me, too, a hollow that called for answers. Only the Urikep could give. I swallowed both, I admit it. Orion's eyes narrowed. You already fetched me a thing others couldn't. I won't pretend I don't value that. But this, he tapped the crate of bulbs with an exacting finger. This success doesn't mean you can waltz into every mystery. If that glyph grabs hold of you, it won't be us who unravels it. He stepped closer, and for the first time since I'd known him, I felt a warmth that wasn't strictly academic. Promise me you'll let me help. Let me prepare you. Not to stop you, I won't. But to make sure you come back. Pride rose in my throat like a bitter taste. I'd always been the sort to charge first and ask questions later. It felt wrong to cage that, but the memory of the glass fangs, the way the silk had almost sliced through my sleeve, and the way Luna had grabbed my arm, all of it, made my defiance seem foolish. You want to come? I asked, surprised at the whisper of hope beneath my own words. Orion's mouth twitched. I can't go with you everywhere, Stella Ferris, but I can teach you the margins. How the Urikeb has bent rules in other places, what words will hold for an hour and what will snap in 10 minutes. I can build you something to see through the stutter of time it causes. I thought of Zena's steady hands and Luna's reckless grin. I imagined telling them, or not telling them, and the weight of the choice sat heavy in my chest. All right, I said finally, the decision settling like a map on a table. You'll help me prepare. We do this smart. We do this with wards and lenses, and we do it quick, but I go. Orion nodded once, solemn, already shifting into the motion of a man who had traded theory for urgent craft. Well, we'll begin tonight, he said. Bring me everything you kept from the lake, every thread of web, every drop of sap. If there's a way back from the Urikeb, it'll be found in the things that touched it. As I left the stall, the market swallowed me again with its colors and noise. I should have felt secure. I had Orion's help now, but the hollow in my chest hummed with a new kind of electricity. Preparation was a comfort in a countdown. Somewhere out there in the dark, a starlit knot waited, and I was stubborn enough, perhaps stupid enough, to untie it. And that's another episode of the Monster Catcher's Journal podcast. And I know it's not the same thing as what they say on Earth for your guys' trick-or-treat or Halloween, but may the glyphs protect you. And I will be talking about the rest of the story next week, where I talk about the Urikeb and how I caught the Urikeb.